carried. The regular council meeting of May 22nd. Councillor Saul. All in favor. Motion's carried. And back to May 29th. Councillor English, Councillor Sauls, all those in favor. Motion's carried. Business arising from the minutes of the regular council meeting of May 22nd. Any business arising from the minutes of May 29th? I'd like to switch things around a little bit, and I want to do our delegations and presentations now, and that way we won't be keeping people in the gallery longer than they have to be here, unless, of course, they are dying to stay here for the whole council meeting and become part of it. But and you have the floor, sir. Back to Russell.
Thank you.
Yes, please. Yes.
Thank you for having us. I'm joined by the Secretary of the Lake of Thunder River, to you, and Ricardo is the MLA in the neighborhood to west of Shuswap.
Welcome.
Well known to you, I trust. And it's great to be back here in Revelstoke. I actually grew up in Kamloops and spent a good amount of time here. I was president of BC Mountaineering Club for a couple of years, so Revelstoke and the whole Mount Abbott area are well known to me, and it's great to be back in this part of the world, especially when the weather's nice. And this came from a very pleasant chamber lunch and a visit to the Downey Division of Northern Lumber and also to BBI Construction to get a handle on the state of the local economy and the employment profile here in Revelstoke. It's fascinating to see how well this downtown is doing. It's fully leased up, it's exciting, it's a great place to be. I was actually here in December looking for some clothing and figured that I'd come back from the sales season, so I'm glad to get out of my launch is available this afternoon. And also good to hear that the hospital is doing well and healthcare is actually safe. So I just want to compliment you for keeping this town so vital. It's obviously thriving. Every community has issues and concerns, but this is a place that is I understand the phenomenon of mass is now on Jasper. And like it or not, this is such an attractive town. Crowd coming your way from the south. What's going to happen? It's a beautiful part of our beautiful province, and you're confident on keeping it in good work. And I thank you for having it. One thing we might want to talk about is the MRDT, the Destination Resort Marketing Tax that has been voluntarily accepted by the hospitality industry and is used for marketing purposes by the Destination Management Organization. And that, I gather, the current government is questioning whether it should be redirected. And that was something that I actually had a hand in working out when I was appointed as Deputy Minister in 2003 and responsible for tourism. And that was quite a tussle with the industry to get them all on the same side in terms of lining up the entire hotel industry around the province. Revenue streams and marketing, as is commonly done in many other cities in the world. And so it's attractive to think that that industry-based approach could continue. And I'm encouraged to keep an eye on it because the current government seems to think that they could actually redirect that, which would cause some degree of grief in the hotel industry. There's something to be aware of and encouraged to keep an eye on it. So that's really all I have to say. I'd be happy to field any queries you might have. Here, but on the other hand, I'd be happy to thank you for your hospitality. We'll make some room for the people back to sit down.
Thanks for joining us today, Andrew. And just any comments or questions from the council? Oh, you got awful lot easier than you did today at lunchtime with all the tough questions.
Well, Mayor alludes to lunchtime being a fairly extensive half-hour cross-examination, which I thrive on. So
nice.
Either friendly or firm and assertive, I'm with you either way.
Great.
Thank you for all the
okay. Thanks for touring up here, and again, thanks, Doug. Does a good job for us as our MLA, and we'd always look to Greg for support. So thank you, gentlemen, for coming as well today.
Great. Thank you.
Our second delegation is Remax Road. I'm not sure You're going to be spokesperson, Todd?
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
no power.
Thanks very much.
Your Honorable Mayor, City Council, and staff, I want to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share. It is on behalf of all the real estate industry and also some concerns we've had to address. The real estate business in Revelstoke can be challenging, but often it is a pleasure to represent this beautiful town. And on many days, like today, Revelstoke just sells itself. As you are aware, we are in a bit of a housing crisis. There's a shortage of houses both for sale and for rent. Partially as a result of these shortages, those properties that are for sale are becoming increasingly unaffordable for the majority of today's buyers. We are not alone. Other communities have similar problems and react in different ways, some with foreign tax laws or vacant home taxes, all with varying and somewhat controversial results. We feel Revelstoke needs to address the housing crisis problem by streamlining and promoting the development process. Systematic changes need to be made, and we call upon you as the elected officials to take responsibility and make that happen. We are missing too many opportunities, and it's costing us all in more ways than we really know. The issues aren't going away. Like it or not, like Mr. Wilkinson was saying, Revelstoke is on the map. It's getting busier all the time. The only thing that's stopping Revelstoke from booming is Revelstoke itself. Let's embrace the opportunities while we can. We understand the difficulty the city staff have to deal with. The increased number of requests for information can be overwhelming and time-consuming. But yet, as I did with other communities, I see entire subdivisions going up in just over a year. 1,000 people living there. There was some nobody 2 years ago. Other communities can do it, and so can we. City staff fielding requests is not unlike the job of a realtor. You get them all the time. But if I get an email request for information and I don't get back within a day, maybe two, guess what? We're going to call another realtor. That's the way it is. We have way too many instances of responses to clients and realtors' requests to the city taking anywhere from 6 days to up to 6 weeks, and sometimes we don't get an answer at all. Real estate is a timely business. You need to act right away. The bank's waiting, everyone's waiting. These actions are costing us opportunities and are simply unacceptable. We want to be part of the solution, but you, the city councilors, need to be aware of the frustrating issues within the Planning and Building Development Department that us, our clients, developers, contractors are all forced to deal with every day. Or give up and go away, and some do just that. They leave. Revelstoke's planning and development environment has been less than ideal for years, but it appears to be broken now. It needs to be fixed. A fresh approach has to happen immediately. This is hurting our local economy. Virtually everyone is affected, and the reputation of Revelstoke as not being open for business is unfortunately getting out there. A City Hall story was being relayed to me the other day, but it was a totally positive situation. The clients were happy, it was great, and we need to hear more of these stories and make Northern Development happy and make the clients feel like they're being listened to. Admittedly, we only have a cursory knowledge of the development process. We don't have the staff expertise, but we do know that other communities process way more development and can offer a transparent permitting procedure that can be accessed online and find out where your permit is in real time with the next steps outlined for them. Can we not adopt a system like that? The housing crisis is not isolated for just Revelstoke. And real estate is still a market, subject to fluctuations and changes. But it seems simple economics, supply and demand, hold true here. If homes can affordably be built in a timely manner, then there is more product, more competition available, and prices will adjust down. This holds true for rentals. If 100 new homes are built, and they are each encouraged to put in a suite, like maybe a creative offer of a rebate on DTC if you put in a legal suite, then all of a sudden we got 100 more rentals, 100 more homes, and now if I can't get $1,200 for my rental suite downtown anymore, then guess what? I'm going to have to get what I can get. I'll drop the price to $1,000. This can alleviate some housing pressures, maybe allow a small business to now fill a vacancy because the employee can now actually find accommodation, not to mention the spiral effects, associated costs like furnishing, paint, restaurants, haircuts, and other day-to-day services that we all need. Today, we are here with the purpose of asking the City Council to support an independent task force to analyze and make recommendations to streamline the entire development process. Although I often cringe at the consultant word, I think it should possibly be headed by a consultant made up of business people, City Council, realtors, developers, contractors, Chamber of Commerce, city staff, all working towards the goal of real change. While this is happening, we are proposing a short-term solution be implemented and monitored immediately to speed up the present development permit applications that are lining up and waiting. There is a problem and it needs fixing. In closing, I want to thank you for listening, and I hope we can be part of the solution and see some action. I love this town, and I can't wait to feel proud to send an excited client with a dream and some cash down to City Hall and know that they'll be looked after. Just like the feeling when I send them to a business or restaurant, proudly knowing that they will get great service, because that's what Relisville gives. Thank you. We're open for some action.
I might just stay right there. And well, I'm glad that you brought the letter and you on it. But everything that's on your list, believe me, as we talked about, either at this table or outside of it. But believe me, we know that we have a lot of pressure on us. We've committed, council is committed the resources to get it resolved. A lot of the things that you're talking about, that we talked about, but it's finding the people to actually do it. You talk about bringing a consultant in to look at the process and the streamlining. Well, I can tell you that what I don't support is taking staff on the job of getting applications processed and out the door to start figuring out how to streamline the process when we've got a stack of applications that we're trying to get through. So, and, you talk about a subdivision, another community that's getting developed and built and lived in, and 2 years passes by. But what's missing from the equation is how long did it take for that subdivision to get to the stage of getting built? And they don't happen overnight. They don't happen in a couple of months. I would dare to say that they probably don't happen in a year or longer. So it's easy to rattle off a whole bunch of ideas, and believe me, all of the ideas have been looked at. They've been recognized, and we want the situation to be different, but it's not just snap your fingers and it's different. Well, I just don't want people, there are people in the community that are thinking that, well, it's just business as usual and we're just looking the other way and we're not concerned about it. Everybody around this table hears about it. Staff hear about it. I definitely hear about it. And, we understand. It's just a matter of how do we've committed the resources. We put some money in the budget for more staff. It's getting the staff, getting them vetted and getting them here and getting them to work. That's not that easy because there's a lot of communities in the same situation that work. But having the conversation, I have no problem with it. The idea of bringing in extra help, we don't have a problem with that. It's just getting it to become reality is the problem.
Well, I mean, it's broken. It needs to get fixed, and it's not getting fixed with him. And it's not helping any of us here. And I think it's not asking for staff to be taken off. And I hate the thought of consultant work. It's a C word. I come to council meetings and we're doing hire a consultant, but it needs an outside review, and it needs an answer, and it slowly isn't fast enough. And like I said, I don't know the whole process. Don't pretend to. Yeah. But other communities, and we're hearing that from our contractors, independent business people. we're hearing it, and I think the Chamber of Commerce is on board, and we want to see them acting. We want to see it going.
Scott.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Thanks for coming in. It's really good. I'll echo the mayor a little bit, because I don't want to confuse it, but the reality is we're not doing the job we need to do. And that sits on our shoulders as the council and as the city hall. But we are trying, and that's the reality. And every single thing that's not working. Yeah, we're well aware of it. And being in the industry a little bit myself, it's slowing our growth down. And that's more than frustrating because it is a cyclical industry and you never know when it's going to get back down. And I know we talked about that, so you want to make savings sometimes. And we are doing everything we can right now. And the amount of effort that these guys around this table, the volunteers have put in, to spending extra hours at night meeting with the staff, figuring out the problems, talking about getting consultants in, looking for extra buyers, throwing money at it, which is one of the things that we have at our disposal. And all those things are happening. And today, more of that's happening. When you guys leave, we're going to be sitting here after the council meeting talking about only that. And I know that a lot of these councillors, part of their election campaign 4 years ago was to work on the development services at City Hall.
I remember.
4 years down the line, and we're probably sitting in the exact same spot we were. But it's called bashing our head against the wall, right? Anyway, I feel where you're coming from, because it's real.
Yeah, no, and, I don't have the answers, don't pretend to have the answers, but...
Mr. Ryan, did you have your hand up?
Yeah. Scott took the winner. I quite literally. Probably around the same value this year is a lot. We all recognize it's a big issue. Like absolutely, we have issues with it. Despite objectively the timelines aren't being met. Staff in your annual report, which was put out, we're going to be reviewing today. Realizes that there's systemic issues. I think really in the building even this year, the direction from council to staff has been what's in front of us out the door right now, and staff working on it, so we're really aware of that we're dealing with a short-term issue. And of course, that's not ideal because what's really needed is long-term planning and long-term issues. Scott was saying at the start there, one of my priorities on council, and I go down into the list of things and my objectives, and I've achieved a lot of them, but some of the big ones I haven't, and that is we need an OCP review, and we need the zoning bylaws to be upgraded because these are two core fundamental issues that are really jamming up the system as it goes through. And it also, doesn't provide us with the visioning that we need to grow into the kind of community that I think we can all see the potential for here. And so, in terms of responsibility for the issues, that rests here on council, and I think everyone acknowledges that. Conversations and ideas and everything. And really, the priority, unfortunately, right now is on short term, and we're looking towards long term. Just to be clear, just to make sure that sometimes I wonder, if everyone, has the label communication. We're looking at, we budgeted this last year for 2 building inspectors, as everyone knows, we're having a hard time finding people to come here. This was, specifically a step to improve the process so that we can have intakes. And when people are coming up with projects and help them out. Staff have identified, and again, it's in their annual report, to improve the system, but sort of our holdup again is really right now we're looking for time for development of Burlington building permits. So I just want to make sure that everyone is clear that everyone here knows that's an issue. Everyone here says this is a number one priority that we're dealing with, and it's not and we've got good feedback from community economic development commission. We've got feedback from the Chamber of Commerce who does a comprehensive list, and I will echo the mayor started that all of these ideas, lots of great ideas, but
when, like a restaurant, you have 100 customers a day, and you have 200 customers, overnight, the next day, and you're trying to catch up with that, and that's sort of the issue that we're facing. It works great, or works okay when it's slow, it's like we're busy right now. So, to summarize, it just really is a priority for everyone to deal with, and we are taking into account all of the input we're receiving. Like for example, we're talking about digital tracking systems. I've seen lots of municipalities permitting stuff. I've seen lots of different systems and lots of good ideas out there, and those are things that we really need to work for. But I just want to be 100% sure that we 100% acknowledge the issue and are doing our best to work on it. But unfortunately, for this summer, that really is short term getting people working right now. And as the fall gets closer, there's lots of opportunities to move through another idea.
Yeah, no, and I do realize, and as I'm writing this, I realize that the county does not know what walk the back alley.
Yeah.
But it's not like I make presentations to city council very often. We're concerned and we're affected. And as much as things are looking better, it's not good enough. And I kind of fear a little bit that we're hearing, we can't fix it. And I'm getting a little sense of that from you guys.
Well, I don't know if I would say that, Todd. What I would say is that your presentation, you look at the list, and I like to say, oh wow, we never thought of that. We never looked into it. That's a good idea. That's going to fix our problem. Like, woohoo, we need a silver bullet. But we have a whole bunch of ideas that are being looked at and looking to see if we can implement something to streamline, make the process better, get more bodies to get the approvals done. We're doing all of those things. So I can't tell you that, boy, I'm sure glad that you got the presentation because now you gave us 10 new ideas. We're doing a lot of those things already, and we're trying to get implementation, and we're trying to get through the building application process and get approvals out the door.
Well, and just a reminder, and staying with you, we are offering to be part of the solution. But and I hear the Chamber of Commerce offering the same way. So, if the job isn't being done within, then I'm all franchise. We've got a place that's why reinvent it? There's a place that's working.
Yeah, and we have contractors working for us right now, and we have engineers working for us, and we're looking at other opportunities to bring more contractors to do other things. So, it's not like we're not doing all those things. We're doing as much as we can, and I'd like us to be doing more, just like you would be. I recognize that it's a supply and demand. We're in an era where people want to be here. They want to be moving their families and their businesses here, and we want that. It's just a matter of how do we get it through the process. And, one thing that we're not going to do, which we can't do, is say, oh, well, we can avoid a whole bunch of the process. That's not going to happen, especially when it comes to buildings that are going to be here and zonings that are going to be here for a long time. There's a process you have to go through, and you have to go through it. Somebody had it. Councillor Duke.
Yes, part of what people can do to help out, we'd love to help with it, is in your network, if you have any connections to the real estate industry, building inspectors, we could use another building inspector. Everybody knows that. But we're putting out as many feelers as we possibly can, so that you guys have a
full-time plan.
Perhaps that helps.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Sells.
Thank you, Worship. But the one thing I want you and all the other realtors to know, and the contractors in the community, is you are being heard. We're not sending you out the door done on us, which is another. You are being heard. We're taking this. I have a son who's a realtor in another community, and so I get some of those issues and concerns about what I should be doing or what we can be doing or whatever. So I kind of understand that whole process. We do appreciate you coming with suggestions for options, and we may be able to have some discussions on that. But like the mayor said, we can't short circuit some of the things that we need to be done to make sure the housing is done. That can't be done. So we're doing what we can. We're doing it behind the scenes. We're not out in the public telling you everything that we're doing. And that's a frustration for the community. We understand that. We really do.
Results speak.
Exactly. So that's what we're trying to do. So please know you are doing very loud and clear, and we do appreciate you telling us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Todd. We'll take a couple minute break. If those that were here for the presentation that they want to leave, they want to stay, they're more than welcome to stay, of course. Do you guys need a hand? Okay, we're on to item 5A, Development Services, and this has to do with development variance permit for 417 2nd Street East. And Mr. Whitehead, you have a presentation for us.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. This is a public input opportunity for proposed development variance permit application located at 417 2nd Street East. Council may recall seeing this proposal at a previous council meeting. There's a good shot of the building in the bottom right corner there from the front. The proposed variances are to reduce the side yard setbacks from 1.5 meters to 1.2 meters on the north side and 1.5 meters to 1 meter on the south side. These variances will permit the construction of a single-family dwelling with a secondary suite on a narrow 25-foot by 100-foot lot. The proposed dwelling is rectangular in shape and low-pitch shed roof. The proposal will meet the minimum parking requirements for a lot of this size, which is one stall for the dwelling and one stall for the suite. Driveways and walkways will be heated to reduce the need for snow storage on site. The roof will contain snow stops to keep snow from falling onto the limited space of the property. Stormwater will be collected and tied into a rock pit on the property to minimize runoff to neighboring properties. 2 comments have been received, public comments. One is a concern regarding the potential damage due to snow slides off of the roof. Their neighboring property had snow fall off their roof. That comment is attached to your package. The other comment is from a directly adjacent neighbor outlining a number of concerns, including access to a view, access to sunlight, impacts on privacy, the elevation variance between the 2 properties, control of surface runoff, a concern regarding fire safety, and concern with the potential snow shedding off the roof. Staff have taken these concerns into consideration, and a detailed response was provided in the report. Staff have proposed amending the variance permit to add 2 additional conditions to the permit in response to these concerns. And the one is regarding ensuring that the height elevation of the house remains as shown in the proposal, and as well as requiring that the site is designed to ensure that all runoff is kept on site. Resolution today will amend the proposed permit and with the additional conditions and direct staff to issue the permit.
Yes, hang on. You're done, Mr. Whitehead? Okay. So before I ask for a motion on this, I want to, because it's a development variance permit, I would like to know if there's any comments from the public on this development variance permit before. Mr. Lewini, would you mind coming up to the mic, Tim?
Couldn't make it. With
she asked us if we could come in and look at things here. A couple concerns that we have with this project. The elevation change between the lots is approximately 2 feet. So when this development is put in, if it's put in, a retaining wall would be required to go along that full length of that wall to make sure that there's no sloughage into the yard. The requirements with the water retention and heat tapes and everything else is all verbal from what I can see. There's nothing in the development permit that says that that's required.
I think that has been added in as a requirement.
I didn't see it in the development permit. I could be wrong, but
It is in there?
both the existing buildings are only a couple feet from the property line now. We relieve the side yard setback on this one. We're increasing the risk of both fire damage from both units. The development permit did state that they were looking at possibly non-combustible, but it's not going to affect the other houses coming in because of the distance. When we're into an existing area, and some of these existing houses, as we know downtown, some of them right on the property line. So this wasn't even shown on any of the plans, so council may not even know about that. And I believe that's a major concern that we have. Side yard setbacks for the 1 meter allows for 0% unprotected openings. 1.2 meters allows for 7% unprotected openings. Both the elevations shown on the plans do not meet this requirement, and there may be some major either design concerns that will go on with that, or financial concerns with other ways of dealing with these code issues.
So just back up, let me just get this straight. So when you have a 1 meter setback, the wall that's there, you're allowed to have 7% of, we're talking windows?
Yeah, windows, doors, things like that. So at 1 meter, you're allowed 0. At 1.2, you're allowed 7%. These drawings show both of those over. If you think on the one, you're trying to use glass blocks, that's not permitted as a protection on it. The proposed parking area is now the parking for the existing house that's there. So when they remove that, the existing house now doesn't have any parking, and the parking spot at the back is where they have a beautiful garden right now. So that would have to be all ripped up and changed so that they can get parking requirements as well. If you look at the photos that were sent in, that comes out right down the side of the house, and it will land approximately exactly where the entrance to the secondary suite is. So we've got a major health safety issue there that both coming and going, and if there is a fire, possibly even getting out of the unit at all. Because of that, where is the snow going to be placed? When you put the two parking lots at the back of that lot, even if you're using 16 feet by 20 feet, we've got very little space between the front of that and the existing house. You're not going to really be piling it on the side of your cars. So where's all this snow going to go? That's why if you go downtown, you'll see there's so many lots that are east and bound subdivisions. They split the lots in half so they got room to put snow in. It's not a good situation. How much will the new observation deck affect the privacy of the neighbors? They're just right off the back, looking straight into their hot tub area, everything else. We believe that the increase in density is good. you know, we need it in town, we have to have it, our taxes prove that. But when it increases the risk of fire, public safety, and the privacy of the neighborhood, it is not good urban planning. As for your information, the existing shed that's on the front of the lot, which was the Heritage Old Shoemaker Shop. The tree in the backyard is a one-of-a-kind plum tree. And that, so, you know, when Paul and Tony bought this house, you know, they put their life savings into it. They lived in the house that was next door. They bought it because of the fact that, you know, they had privacy there. And assumed, which you can never assume, but, you know, with the heritage and everything else, that they'd be able to keep some of that privacy. And when we start reducing required side yard setbacks on small lots, I think there's maybe a concern there. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Laney? I think we should put a motion on the floor first, and then that'll initiate discussion.
I can bring that motion forward.
Stand there, though, Tim. I think. Thanks.
That development variance permit DVP 2018-02 be approved, subject to the addition of the following permit conditions. Floor elevations as shown on Schedule A are relative to before construction average elevations of the front lot line. B, property grading and design must prevent surface runoff to neighboring properties.
Motion by Councilor Duke, second by Councilor Nixon. Councilor Brothers.
Tim, are you suggesting then that this piece of property just can't be built on? Is that really where you go?
It could be built on, but you could go down to a smaller house. There's ultimately the best solution on there, because they own both, is to demolish the existing house, put a nice duplex with a firewall in, and you get 4 units out of it. You got lots of space on either side. But when we get to a 25-foot lot, start reducing setbacks, it's not as critical with all the other houses on that block had proper setbacks. But setbacks were set in our zoning bylaw for a reason. And when the existing houses on either side are within feet of those, we're talking the eaves on the one side are almost going to be touching each other. You know, so to me, it doesn't make any sense in this situation. And, you know, I'm all in favor of higher density. You know, we need it, but this isn't a lot to do it or designed to do it on.
Councilor Wanda.
Your Worship, thank you. I had a question for staff. So in the report, it was indicating that there's snow anchors on the roof. In the presentation, we've just heard there was a concern expressed about snow shedding and snow storage, and I'm hoping to just get a little bit of clarity on that.
Yes, through your worship. The slope on the roof is a low slope. It's a 212 pitch with snow stops. There should not be, with that design, any kind of massive snow sliding action. That doesn't say it's impossible to happen, but it is unlikely.
Do you know what the roofing material is, and is that part of the application permit?
It is not at this time. We haven't had that discussion with the developer, but that could be looked at as an alternative. As far as snow retention, there is space for snow retention on the rear driveway that's been assigned for snow storage. That does not impede 2 parking stalls. The heated sidewalks and driveway are a condition of the permit. There are examples of heated sidewalks and heated driveways that do work. The seniors housing downtown over here is a good example. They've got a driveway down to the underground parking, which never has snow accumulation on it and is not plowed. That's about all I can speak to as far as snow accumulation.
It wasn't on that house. I don't believe that will slide at all, even without the snow retentions. It's the existing house that's there. That's where the snow is sliding down, and that'll be sliding into the new house. And that one you can't put snow retention on. It's not designed for it. So, and that's where, when it does come down, it's a good possibility it could land right at the doorway of the secondary suite that's going in there. People just even walking to their side yard with that house sliding could be endangered. And, we're only talking like this much from the property line to the house.
Your worship, we're going to see more of these come in front of us, like the increased density. And I've heard from residents in Revelstoke from previous additions that people have made where they end up having snow avalanches end up in their yard. But I didn't fully realize that you were talking about the neighbor's house avalanching onto the new neighbor's bill. And I think I've got clarity there on that now. Right. So, no, I would just like staff to consider that because I think we're going to see more of these come through, and we really need to make sure that nobody's getting buried in a snow avalanche. And I know, Tim, you did a lot of work on research on snow loads and stuff for the city of Revelstoke previous years. So I think the snow load on this roof is going to be fine. I don't see it sliding.
Oh, no, this with the designs nowadays and everything else, this is not an issue. And if you had 5 of these in a row on 25-foot lots, not a big issue. The problem is we've got a 25-foot lot, you've got 2 people living in there, you start reducing the side yard setback, what space, open space do these people have to use? They don't. You've got parking, you got a little front yard, which one of the couples might be able to use, but, as you start getting smaller lots, there's more concerns in there. Doing this up in Arrow Heights and reducing the side yard setback to 1 meter, not a big deal. We've got 10 feet between the next house. But here, we've got a couple feet.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Marini, we're under a lot of pressure from the real estate agents to, and you are throwing a wrench into the whole deal. So I want you to know.
That's my job.
But this is not where the problem is, this table. I think that podium is where the problem is. But I have to say that you bring up some good points, and I guess as a suggestion is that I would like to get your points in writing, get them to staff, and we defer this for another meeting until staff have time to review these comments and to find out if these are. I don't feel comfortable making a decision on development variance permits now with some of this information. Of course, there is a motion on the floor, and the council can do whatever it likes, but this is the way that I feel right now. Councilor.
I feel comfortable. Thanks, Tim. It's nice to hear about the neighboring house and snow potentially falling onto this property, and that can be spoken with to the developer and planning services when they're going through that process. But I'm not in a position to slow down density and push this to another council meeting because I think this is a good thing and it's what we need in the community. So I'm okay with the motion.
Looking for comments from council.
Question, if we decide to ask staff to give some more input on this, how is that done? Do we turn down this motion and bring in another one in, or how is that?
Mr. Chabot on that.
Well, Your Worship, I think council would be in order to table the motion for consideration at the next regular meeting, and that staff be requested to bring back a report that addresses listed items of concern. Some I heard are no longer relevant. The notion of an observation deck and loss of privacy was mentioned by Mr. Reedy on behalf of all I guess it is. That's been eliminated from the proposal. That doesn't exist. Does council want to know about the potential for a 2.5-foot retaining wall the length of the property? Is that a concern? So what in particular are the concerns? I can't comment about the building code and whether or not these setbacks make windows and the side walls of the structure, I guess, allowable or not. But I would trust that we wouldn't issue a building permit for something that's contradicting code. So council is really dealing with side yard setbacks It's nice to have a picture of what may be built, but really what you're asking to the area to decide that.
Well, and I guess I look at it as that we've got a pretty comprehensive list of items. Some of them are dealt with, some of them may not be, but I think that to have a list of whatever it is, 6 or 8 or 9 items, and have have staff look at them and give an answer and say, this is looked after, this we don't have control, or whatever the response is, so that council could make a better, more informed decision. And I think that a side yard setback can be viewed as an inconvenience to a neighbor, and if a rated chain wall is going to add to their comfort and protection of their property, if we think that that's necessary, I still want to defer to staff to get that comment back. And so myself, I would like to see the whole list and a response from staff on the whole list. So, Brian, this is not an open meeting of discussion and committee meeting, so I want to leave it to the designated proponent and council and staff.
Okay, I had something, I think, fairly constructive to add to it, though, because I promised to be brief.
Okay, Brian.
So, by coincidence, 13 months ago, there was a meeting here, I was on the 10th or 11th, and you were talking about the subdivision of the property on Taylor, on the west end of Taylor, closer to away from town. And the existing house had a porch, a side yard porch. They were selling a vacant lot. They wanted to sell it. And so they were asking for permission to move it over. And the guy at the existing home on the other side of the vacant lot was objecting to it because he didn't want his privacy encroached upon. And so that house is under construction, the roof is on, we've all altered up. And it's an awesome example of a builder and possibly a homeowner not getting too overly and trying to cram too big a building envelope into a limited space. And I mean, I'm familiar with construction, but it's very difficult to look at that screen image and try to figure out how it's going to fit. First of all, you don't see how it relates to the existing housing. So all I'm saying is if you're adjourning this, you've had this discussion a year ago, and there's a prime example of someone not getting.
Okay. I recall the subdivision that you were talking about. I see them as being a little bit different, and I understand where you're coming from, but I don't know what council's going to do, so I appreciate the input, but I'm going to carry on and go through this. Thanks. Councilor Randall.
Your Worship, Councilor Duke has indicated his willingness to move ahead as proposed, and Your Worship wants a little bit more information. I was wondering if we could potentially split the difference and seek out sort of feedback right now from staff, and maybe to enlighten us on some of the points that we're reading.
Well, I'm just concerned that there's too many items on there, and they may require some more work by staff, and I'm just thinking about, is this the place to be negotiating all the items on the list? That's all I'm concerned about, is how much time when we're going to need input from Mr. Lee on his list, and it's going to go to stuff. I don't know if that's a fair thing to do to everybody at this table. But Mike, you had your hand up.
Your Worship, I was just going to mention that some of the issues that have been raised exist whether there's a variance or not. And I think that's an important distinction for understanding what council's role is here. So going from 1.5 meters to 1.2, 1.5 to 1 meter, you're still going to have the snow sliding off the roof next door, and it's going to be still close to the building that's being proposed. The retaining wall would be necessary likely either way. So I would encourage council to think about the things that are specifically identified as variance items. And I think that the Mayor's comment as to not understanding what the impact of this is, that's a valid concern. So, if a retaining wall is required because of the variance, I think that's definitely something that I would say council should rightly ask for more information if they feel that's necessary.
Yeah, except that Mr. Thomas, that's not on the variance list, and it would be another item, and that's why I guess I'm in favor of it. Going back to staff, looking at all the items, and I realize that I think that quite a few of them are already looked after, but one of the things I am concerned about is the snow sliding off the roof and then hitting the porch as people are entering into the suite. I think that we should be concerned about that, and this is our only opportunity to look at that. Somebody had a hand. I'm not sure who did. But right now, all we have is a motion to approve development variance permit. That's what is on the floor right now, and I'm not hearing or seeing anything different. Is there any more comments on the motion? Since there's no more comments, I'm going to mention that I am going to be voting against the motion because I think we need more information. I just thought I'd throw that out there for the record. Everybody seems to be pretty quiet. Motion?
Can I ask one question? I still don't understand how we table it if that's what we want to do.
That's why I call it table, he calls it deferring the motion. Deferring motion or table? Same thing.
So we defeat it?
No. You make a motion to table it to the next meeting, getting more information. That would be the motion. Is that your motion?
Yes, that's my motion.
Motion by Councilor Brothers, seconded by Councilor Nixon. So there's no discussion on tabling motion. It's just
Typically, it's voted on without debate, on without clarification as to the questions the council desires an answer to for the next meeting in order to make a decision on the permit application.
It's easy to be all out.
That's our motion. That's
So
our motion.
Yeah.
motion is to table to the next meeting, getting more information from staff. Sorry?
I believe Councilor Duke made the motion initially, so that one has to be dealt with before the...
No, not with
that's for tabling motion, no.
No, so then at the next regular meeting, council will receive a report that will provide further information relative to the items of concern. And that there will be a motion then to lift the motion from the table. And the motion to approve the permit moved by Councilor Duke would be before council for debate and vote.
We're breaking all the rules anyway. Go ahead.
We're not breaking any rules. I mean, there's a motion on the table, and we're having discussion about it. And I think that's the whole purpose of this council, is when variances come forward, we have a discussion of them, we get feedback from staff, we get feedback from the public, and then we make a decision. And the decision is to table the motion for more information. That's absolutely fine. But I think in front of us, we have information, and it's a variance change, right? We're not talking about snow sliding off our roof. All we're talking about is changing a setback. And I'm comfortable with changing the setback, and then I can leave it in the city hands. They know what they're doing as far as the building permit and issuing that, and we can move forward from this and get on to bigger things that are more important in the community, like handling the stuff with a real estate.
And I guess if you were the neighbor next door, you would think that there was nothing more important than this. So it's everybody has a different perspective. Motion is on the floor to table to the next meeting with getting information from staff. All those in favor? Against? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Number one.
A couple of quick announcements. One is I had the pleasure of touring the Premier around town yesterday and took him through all of the highlights and some of the lowlights, but I also did get him on the Pike Mountain Coaster for a ride. And then we went up and he was the guest speaker at the ILMA, the Interior Lumber Manufacturers Association, and I was there to greet everybody and welcome them to Revelstoke. And it looks like a great event, and lots of people enjoying our community. I was very pleased to represent council and the community at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities last week, and there was a lot of issues there. I just wanted to touch over a couple of real quick things. It's basically it's a bigger format of exactly what we're going through, which is cannabis, vacation rental. I sat through sessions on public engagement and getting more revenue for the community, and walking tours of Halifax facilities and streetscaping, roads and sidewalk design was extremely interesting, and But one of the highlights is I attended a session on engaging the public, and part of that session was an announcement of 10 Best for Canada Municipal Innovators, and our own Mike Thomas was chosen as one of the 10 municipal innovators, and his whole reason for winning was talking about the challenges of, and I'll just do a real short version of the 3 pages that I got on it, but it's basically the challenges of a resource-based railway community becoming a world-renowned resort community, and the growing pains of increased traffic and the pressure on our assets and infrastructure and how we deal with that. And I just wanted to thank Mike for being selected in the top 10. And
Awesome. Excellent.
So we're moving into 9A. Anybody would like to look at this is the election procedures.
I'll bring it forward, Your Worship. That election and assent voting procedures bylaw number 2221 be read a third time.
Motion by Councillor Brothers, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Discussion. Councillor English, then Councillor Sills.
Just looking at this and reading through the bylaw again, we had some questions surrounding this at our last meeting. I was looking for a few things to be addressed, and I don't see any changes. I still see a sign as 2 by 2. I still see some restrictions as to where and how they can be placed. And just my memory of the meeting was quite a bit different, asking for this to come back with some changes that we had looked for. I'm not going to support this. I will be voting against it.
Okay. Well, I think that it's worthwhile to remind council that if you want something changed, you have to make a motion, get it seconded, and get it approved by everybody around the table. And there was discussion. I supported that discussion, but there was no motion on the floor. And it's not too late to be doing that. But I know that there are time restrictions on this going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe to be effective for the next general election, it has to be adopted before July 1st.
July 9th, Your Worship. So that's one day before the next council meeting, or the July council meeting.
So does that mean that changes, if there's a motion here to make changes, that it could be incorporated into the June 26th and be adopted in time?
Correct.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve this in third reading. Do I hear any? Councillor Sills, you had your hand up.
I did, Your Worship. I have some questions regarding the electronic procedures. I'm wondering if this is tried and true and tested and has worked in other communities in British Columbia.
Yeah, Your Worship, I would fashion a guess that 30% or more of communities in British Columbia are using automated voting machines. I know I introduced them in Prince George in 1996. They're still in use today. It's optical scan technology similar to checking your lottery ticket. They often send you a package of test ballots, and people can vote them and then verify the accuracy of the machines. It's a good demonstration for staff that are working elections to show and establish a level of trust in the technology for them. There haven't been any reported issues that I'm aware of in Canadian elections using electronic voting.
Okay, thank you.
I did, and I know that Councillor Orlando brought up the concerns about the signage. I'm not going to have a dog in the next fight, like I said earlier, but I think that we're being too restrictive, and I think we're setting ourselves up for complaints when somebody is doing something that's out of the ordinary. I have not seen or been party to the complaints about election signage, but one thing that I think the majority of people recognize is that on this date, the election is over and all the signs disappear. It's not like they stay up all year round, and there's a plethora of signs on every street corner. So I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill, and I guess I wouldn't be opposed to booting all the regulations on the signage and just letting people police, knowing that it's going to come to an end. But again, nothing is going to get done or changed without a motion put on the floor. Councillor Sells.
Your Worship, I'll make that motion that we disregard the signage issue and kick it to the curb.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor English. So the question that I have to staff is that can we approve this election procedure assent voting bylaw and just eliminate the signage portion of it and have it approved today?
Yeah, you will approve this amendment, which deletes section 18 of the bylaw, and then if voting on third reading is amended is in the affirmative, it'll come back to the next regular meeting for adoption.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Discussion on this, so I guess this would be an amendment.
Yeah.
Discussion on the amendment to boot the signage portion of this bylaw. Is there discussion on that? Councilor Lindell.
Yeah, Your Worship, I do support that. I just, I understand that staff have received complaints, but I've never had anyone complain to me about it. One of our big goals, I think, any small municipality in BC, any municipality in BC, is to have participation in the election. And, you've got 3 weeks of signs uptown, it raises some awareness and it gets the conversation going. In the report, it was never quantified as to how many complaints. Was it 1 or 2 complaints? And then we're putting more work on bylaw enforcement's desk and discouraging people's ability to go out there and show their support and gain support. So yeah, I really it was never identified to me by anyone as being a priority to have fewer signage around town. So I would support the amendment to remove section 18 of the bylaw.
Councilor English.
I would echo some of Councilor Orlando's statements, and I just find 18 just incredibly restrictive. If somebody had a corner lot and wanted to have a sign facing one street and a sign facing the other street, this prohibits them from doing that. I just think it's incredibly restrictive, and I'm happy to see it hopefully leaving, and I will support the rest of the bylaw with 18 amended.
Is there any more comments on the amendment? Amendments on the floor to boot the signage portion of this bylaw. All those in favor? Motion's carried. So this election and voting procedure bylaw number 2221 be read a third time as amended, right?
Yeah. You've got the motion.
And we've got the motion, so we have a motion mover and a seconder. Any discussion on this amended motion? Councilor Lando.
Your Worship, I guess regarding more supplemental information about the voting machines, I still have concerns. That was a request that we be provided information as to how the machines work. My assumption is that they'll work fine, but I would have been much happier with this. And one specific detail that I'm asking for clarification from on staff is it indicates that people will be required, voters will be required to fill out for mayor all six council spots as well as 5 trustee spots for the school district. Yet there is a provision to allow them not to do that, but that would be flagged later on in the process. I'm just trying to understand the technical details of that.
Mr. Chabot.
Your Worship, the biggest advantage I saw with automated voting machines was that electors that had marked a ballot in error were generally provided the opportunity to receive a replacement ballot. And so the number of spoiled ballots went down from, in the case of Prince George, several hundred down to only a handful. The machine recognizes if an elector undervotes a race, for instance, for councillor in the city of Revelstoke, you can vote for up to 6. Nothing says you must vote for 6. Some electors feel like they want to get as much bang for their buck and vote for as many candidates as they can. Others want to be strategic and only vote for those candidates that they clearly support. So when a ballot is inserted in the voting machine, which is undervoted with respect to a race, it is then returned to the secrecy sleeve if the elector chose to use one, and it says that you've undervoted the councillor race. The person attending the machine then can ask the elector, is that what you intended? And if they do, then you reinsert that ballot, and there's a button you push which overrides that error code and counts any valid marks on that ballot. Similarly, some people will want to register a protest vote and say overvote the mayor's race, and I'm going to vote for everybody on mayor because I don't really like any of them. There's a way to make the machine accept that ballot and count any valid marks, such as for councillor or school trustee, but not count the overvoted mayor's race. On our website, I believe there's a video showing the use of an automated voting machine, although it isn't the exact model that we've had an arrangement to lease for this first election using them. And there's further information that people can get on the website about automated voting. Is that clear?
Yeah.
And just for the record, that the comment about the voting not like any of the mayors, that's just a hypothetical situation.
I guess to Mr. Chabot, I mean, is there a need to go to this type of, I mean, does it really help us? Other than, I get your point about it reduces the amount of spoiled ballots, but did we see a need for that? Because it does seem to me that there will be some measure of confusion when people's ballots are given back, and then an explanation will have to be given and that type of thing.
I think it will be easy to manage any confusion because we're talking about one voting place. When I brought it in Prince George, I operated 8 polling stations in a community with 46,000 eligible electors, and I had one complaint on voting day. It seemed to work quite well, and it's your efforts up front in your education, I think, that will work. Just the accuracy of the count. Sometimes rejecting ballots is a subjective exercise and subject to challenge. Sometimes people, after working a 12-hour day, then sticking around to count the ballots till the wee hours of the morning, their ability to tabulate things becomes compromised. So it's accurate. It's more or less automatic result.
Just as part of the educational component of this, just really wanted on the record that staff go in and speak with the seniors and talk about it and maybe take the video with them and show it to the seniors, because this is a big change and seniors like to vote, and just want to make sure that they know we're conscious of this change for them.
Okay, any more, Councilor?
Yeah, Your Worship, I'm not going to support this bylaw. I support electronic voting systems. I'm sure it's going to be, I assume it's going to be great. However, it was indicated to council that we would be provided more information on the technical details, and that was specifically my question. We were not. In hearing that there's, significant, we discussed some of the significant voter day changes last year, but in hearing that, there's a whole bunch of different procedures that are, it could be a big thing for some people, such as not wanting to indicate that they're strategically voting or something like that, that's inherently including in the technology, yet that has not been presented to council despite the fact that it was requested, or at least to myself. I just feel that, I don't have enough information on the machines to support this, and furthermore, I'd add to that the downside of the current system was, it takes a few more hours for everyone to get it all counted a little bit late. I think we can live with that for one more year. And I would encourage, since there is a deadline to this, and if this were not supported as I'm favoring, that we could take another shot at it ahead of the next election, not under the gun to get it through for statutory requirements ahead of this election.
Any more comments on this amended motion? All those in favor? Against? Did you get the vote against? The motion is carried. 2017 annual report. Oh, wait, sorry. We're in the zoning text amendment bylaw 2224 on cannabis regulations.
Yes, I can bring
Councillor Orlando.
Your worship, I'll bring that forward. Number 90, I move that zoning text amendment bylaw number 2224 be adopted.
Motion by Councillor Orlando, second by Councillor Nixon. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Nixon.
Just reassurance to the community that this council is not trying to take away anybody's medical marijuana. That is not our mandate. It comes under federal law. What goes on between you and your doctor is none of our business, and just really want to reassure the public of that, because that perception was out there that we were trying to meddle in people's medical marijuana.
As well as there will be another procedure starting that will be allowing cannabis to be sold if it's legalized by the federal government. And we'll have the conditions that will be applied to the zones. And we are not doing this to not allow sale of cannabis either in the long term. Just want to be clear, we're not stopping it in the long term, as long as it gets approved.
Your worship, just further to that, it's my understanding that it has passed the Senate and going back to the Chamber of Commons in Ottawa with few requests from the Senate. So I don't think we're going to make the original deadline.
Okay. Any comments on this motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Now we're into 11A and the report.
I'll bring it forward, Your Worship, that the 2017 annual report be made available for public inspection and be considered by Council at the June 26, 2018 regular Council meeting beginning at 3 p.m. in Council chambers.
Motion by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Saul. Discussion. Councillor Nixon. I won't be here too long.
Yeah, no, Your Worship, just thank you to all the staff for all the work that's gone on in the past year. We have several departments that worked shorthanded and still accomplishing and meeting the needs of the public. And I really especially want to thank our CEO for our help in the finance reports. The 15-year financial plan is something to be proud of around this table and staff to be proud of.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions on the motion? Mr. Chabot?
Just one, Your Worship. It's my view that this is the 2018 annual report. The inclusion of the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2017 doesn't make it last year's report. I seem to get to have this conversation with people more than I wish. The requirement is for an annual report for this year, prepared on June 30th. The reports on goals, objectives, and measures for this year, progress respecting the same for the previous year, and goals, objectives, and measures for next year. So it's truly, we'll change that, I hope, call it this year's report.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Motion carried.
Great.
We have a presentation on the development services liquor license application for 208 First Street East. Mr. Whitehead.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is an application requesting council support for a lounge area endorsement for a proposed microbrewery located at 208 First Street East. You can see the unit there. This is very shadowy, but I believe, I'm not exactly sure what store was in there before. It might have been the adult-oriented store. I'm not sure. Capacity is proposed for this development. Let's get the site plan up, or the building plan proposal, sorry, is listed. The capacity is proposed at 30 people, which will be subject to review for compliance with the building code at building permit stage. Hours of operation are proposed for 10 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. This is a lounge area endorsement, not a liquor primary application. Snacks to be provided in accordance with the rental regulation. We have not yet received the building permit application for the proposed brewery. I assume the applicant is working to get his ducks in a row with the liquor license before they move forward. I understand they're working on their plans as we speak. One public comment was received from the operator of a nearby establishment expressing concerns regarding increasing the total number of liquor service seats in the community and also raising concerns of street noise. Unless council would like to direct staff otherwise, staff will continue to allow the market to determine demand for liquor service seats in the community. There are other options that council could consider, such as directing staff to undertake a study into determining a maximum number of liquor service seats, potential restrictions on liquor service hours. I would want council to see a complex undertaking. We'd be doing it with a third-party consultant. Staff are supportive of the proposal, and the resolution recommended today will be to send council support to the Provincial Liquor Control and Licensing Branch to finish their processing.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Does anybody wish to put a motion on the floor?
Yes, Your Worship. Up with the Worship, the Council endorsed staff's comments based on the regulatory criteria of the Liquor Control and Licensing Branch for lounge endorsement as highlighted in the agenda, and the views of the residents were solicited by notification letters hand-delivered to occupiers and mailed to property owners within 100 meters of the subject property. The comments and the views of the residents are as follows. One letter of objection was received and considered, and the Council recommended issuance of lounge endorsement liquor license as highlighted in the agenda.
Motion by Councilor Duke, second by Councilor Nixon. Discussion on the motion. Councilor Nixon.
Just wondering if council would tolerate a friendly amendment to open at 11 a.m. and to close at 11 p.m. on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Just to...
And what is it now?
It's 10 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week.
Okay. So 10 to midnight, changing it to 11 to 11 on those days. I would suggest that you're going to make that as an amendment. We have an amendment on the floor. Is there any seconder for that amendment? Can I second motions?
You could leave the chair.
No.
Ask the mayor to take the chair.
Is there a seconder for this amendment to the motion? Hearing none, the amendment fails for lack of a seconder. Motion is on the floor. Is there any discussion on the original motion? All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. We are on to zoning amendment bylaw 2228, which is 445 West Side Road. And we have a presentation from yourself, Mr. Whitehead.
Yes, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is the proposed zoning amendment located at 445 West Side Road. This is the Bresco Recycling Facility operations site. This air photo, I apologize, is out of date. I had trouble controlling the satellites in our area.
Just one excuse after another.
The proposed zoning amendment is from M1 Light Industrial to M2 General Industrial in order to legalize a portion of their operations, to legalize a part of their operations, which is currently undergoing, which is clean metal salvage. This is a long-standing use which is not actually permitted in the light industrial zone, although it was always the intent of the applicant when they were making their Crown Land grant. This was originally a Crown Land grant of purchase, I believe. The proposed zoning amendment is consistent with the current OCP designation of light industrial. Our OCP classifies 2 levels of industrial, light and heavy, whereas our zoning bylaw has 3 levels. Looking at how our OCP describes the 2, general industrial fits into light industrial on the OCP. I have noted this inconsistency and we'll make sure we deal with it in the OCP review. This application was presented to and supported by the Advisory Planning Commission since this was published at their meeting on June 5th of last week. They supported it. Staff are supportive of the proposal, and the council resolution today will be to accept the application, to give first and second readings of the bylaw, and to direct staff to schedule a public hearing on the proposal.
Thank you. Motion?
Bring this forward. The zoning amendment application zone 2018-04 be approved.
Motion by Councilor Duke, second by Councilor Nixon. Discussion on the motion. Councilor Sells?
Your Worship, just a question for Mr. Whitehead. Had the OCP had the original wording that we're trying to amend this application to, this would not be before us today, is that correct? If this light industrial was called general when this application was made, this would not be before us, correct? They would have automatically got that.
The zoning.
The zoning.
The zoning,
Yes.
not the OCP. So if it was zoned general industrial at the time, then this would not be going forward.
Okay. So my question has been answered on that. I've had an email from a member of the community who was quite concerned about what goes forward on West Side Road with zoning amendments and no updated OCP. This is not changing what's already been happening on this property for years. So I'm inclined to support this. There's no change with that.
Well, I guess I see this as more of a housekeeping thing, is that, this probably should have been rectified at the very start, and for whatever reason it wasn't. It's, I would find it hard to believe that people would think that it wouldn't be a permitted use in that area when that's exactly where it should be.
Right.
So I look at this whole exercise as housekeeping and getting things done, the paperwork done properly.
Great.
So I fully support it, and I hope council does as well. Is there any more comments or questions on this motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. And the second one?
Zoning amendment bylaw number 2228 be read a first, second time, and a public hearing be scheduled.
Motion by Councillor Duke, second by Councillor Nixon. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Front item D.
Your Worship, I have a conflict declaration due to the business relationship with the applicant.
What's the right to do about
Yes, Your Worship. Looking for a page that we could all land on here. Start with this one for now, and if we have any more discussion about it, we can flip back and forth. I've got a number of plans here. So on April 25th, staff received a referral request from the Mountain Resource Branch of the Ministry of Forest Lands, Natural Resource Operations, and Rural Development. Council will recall a presentation at the May 22nd Council meeting from Mr. Peter Nielsen regarding the update and the resort's future plans. The Provincial Mountain Resorts Branch is looking for comments on RMR's master plan update. Through the Resorts Branch website, the update along with the original 2003 Resort Master Plan is available for review. It is my understanding that the update was open to the public and stakeholder comment until May 25th. I understand that the Revelstoke Mountain Homeowners Association has developed and submitted to the Resorts Branch a detailed report outlining a number of concerns. I believe Council has also received that. The Resort Master Plan updates are required by the province at 5-year intervals. This is actually the first update submitted since the original approval of the 2003 Mount Mackenzie Expansion Master Plan, which was then subsequently renamed the Revelstoke Mountain Resort. Due to a short timeline for review, staff contracted assistance with this review process. Submission of this update by RMR. This is an important and positive step in the continued development of the resort lands. The importance to the city of having regular updates of resort development plans, it really can't be understated. The phasing, the timing, expected development at a high level is necessary for both Development Services Department, Engineering Department especially. Development at the resort has a direct impact on staff resourcing. It has a direct impact on servicing needs and operational demands on city infrastructure. It also has an overall impact on the growth and development of the community. An increase in tourism-related development has many positive outcomes that we've seen over the last number of years in our community. It can also have negative impacts on both permanent residents of the community as well as guests in our community, which I think we've seen some of those as well. I would like to say we've had much more positive than negative in the time that I've been here. Staff are not in opposition of the general content of the master plan update. However, after a careful review of the update and in light of RMR's current baselines planning that is underway, staff's recommendation to council is to recommend to the province that acceptance of the master plan update be deferred until the province and the city get a chance to get more detail from RMR about completion of their baselines planning exercise. It would generally be untimely for RMR's process to be completed just after the master plan update is approved by the province, as their subsequent, as RMR's update would not roll in until the next 5-year plan. So we have a baselines update by the resort being done immediately after, and then having a 5-year gap until that gets rolled into their master plan update. Further, staff recommend that council support the update in general, subject to RMR addressing a number of issues in further detail, which are outlined in the report. They're also listed in the council resolution. I'm going to run through them very quickly, and then I'll be open to questions. Item A in the resolution, which is number 1 in the body of the report, requests additional detail on proposed baseline phasing, timing, proposed developments in each phase, submitted as a revised exhibit R of the master plan. I think we've got R in here. Now this table just gives you an idea of what it looks like. We're not going to be able to read these numbers, but it talks about the number of bedroom units for each type of development in each phase and sub-phase overall. There has been substantial change to the areas and the sub-phasing, and just a little more detail to understand how that impacts what's going where as far as maximum densities go with the value. Also required is some additional details surrounding expected timing of completion of outstanding infrastructure as part of the single-family development in the area, which would be Mackenzie Landing and Monash Estates. Item B discusses requesting further information upon completion of the RMR baseline planning exercise. Without this detail, it's difficult to assess the actual impacts of this update. Item C, or 3 in the body of the report, is requesting specific provision of employee housing. The MDA with the province refers to the provision of employee housing after phase 1 of the development, whereas the city zoning refers to the provision of employee housing after the 1,200 dwelling units on the development in the resort master plan zone. Given this discrepancy, staff recommended condition of council support of the update be that the proponent and the province address this discrepancy and have council a chance to review it. Item D, or 4 of the body of the report, requires agreement on a change of land uses on the baselands. There's been a notable shift from traditional resort ancillary uses, such as hiking, mountain biking, equestrian uses, into more adventure and amusement-related uses, such as the Pike Coaster, ATV tours, bungee jumping. Staff aren't opposed to that change. We just need to see that updated and some consideration be made, because some of these uses do have increased impacts to neighboring residents especially. One of the principal concerns is noise. We've heard anecdotally that there's, people having a good time on the Pike Coaster are actually disturbing residents in the area because they're so excited to be on it. Similar concerns might be expressed around ATV use and what that looks like. Are ATVs coming and going to the base area? Are they going to mid-mountain? Where are they? Some more detail around that. Item E, or 5, is requiring an update to the resort CDO8 zone to align with the proposed changes in use and changes in areas of phases. Item F, or 6, requires updating servicing plans based on actual construction to date. There's been substantial changes to what was in the original master plan, specifically around sewage and a lift station and providing additional septic treatment, stormwater management, erosion control, a number of those things could benefit from seeing an update, so staff and the city can understand the impact of that and the changes. And finally, second to last here, item G, looking for updated statistics on resort use in order for the city to assess current and future infrastructure demands. And finally, item H, requiring follow-through on First Nations consultation. This is in recognition of the city's ongoing discussions with First Nations in the region and developing a supportive and respectful relationship. So to sum up, staff recommend that council accept the report, direct staff to refer the report and the resolution to the Mountain Resorts branch as a comment to the master plan update referral. That council requests the province defer acceptance of the master plan update until completion and review of RMR's baseline planning exercises undertaken and completed, and that council ultimately support the proposed master plan update subject to the conditions listed in the resolution and that we discussed.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Is anybody prepared to put a motion on the floor? Councilor Schultz.
Your Worship, I'll bring forward the motion as written in our package. Number one, that the report dated June 12, 2018, written by the Director of Development Services with a completed e-referral form and attachments be forwarded to the Mountain Resorts branch of the Ministry of Forest Lands, Natural Resource Operations and Rural Development.
Motion by Councilor Stoll, seconded by Councilor Nixon. Discussion on the motion. Councilor Nixon.
Your Worship, I'm really happy that Northlands has brought forward this updated report for the mountain. I see it as sort of a wait-and-see plan, and that's prudent on business planning. But I did hear from the Revelstoke Mountain Homeowners Association, and I think all of council did as well, and their concerns kind of echo what staff has come up from on behalf of the city of Revelstoke. Mr. Richard Tucker has written a very good report, and I just need to ask staff if that report could be introduced into our minutes from today's meeting or come forward as a part of the public record, because it's a very well-researched document. I don't know if council's even had time to read it. It's 50 pages. But it's a very good document.
Isn't it the purpose of the report is a submission to Monroe?
Yeah, Your Worship, it is. Given that it was sent to city staff and to council, it likely then becomes subject to the Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act, and it's probably something that somebody could request or the city could disclose. It's more or less becomes our record once it's in our custody and control.
Well,
I read it yesterday and thought it was an excellent submission. Echoed a lot of the concerns of the city and requests to move this matter forward.
Your Worship, further to that, I'm sorry that the real estate agents aren't still here, because real estate in Revelstoke has gone up over 40%. Assessments in Revelstoke, the city of Revelstoke, have gone up 20%. And yes, your taxes did too. But at RMR, at the resort lands, their values of their homes, anybody selling up there, have gone down more than 20%. So that group of homeowners association, I see them as a neighborhood of Revelstoke, and I think their concerns should be part of the public record.
I guess what I'd be suggesting is that staff contact Mr. Tucker and make it available.
They have a website. We could request that they publish their submission to the ministry on their website if it's not there already.
I just try to make it, people want to see it, make it easier by doing getting permission, rather than having people go through FOI, because I'm not sure of the legal responsibilities that we have on that, but I don't disagree that it should be made available to the public. It's just a matter of what's the easiest way to do it. It seems to me the easiest way to do it is get permission from the owner of it. I want to get back to the motion on the floor, if that's okay. So the motion is forward to the Lynn. Is there more discussion on that? We have two more motions. I'm not sure what you wanted to talk about, but.
A couple of things. Just a comment. I just think that this is really worthwhile exercise for the city. A lot of time has passed, and I think it's really very important since the mountain is an integral part of us, and we are an integral part to them. And so to have this discussion and at least the information flowing from one to the other, I think is really worthwhile. It's good for us and it's good for RMR because we should be communicating on what issues and concerns the city has, and likewise what issues and concerns RMR have. So I think this is just great, and I will support it. But the other question I have, Mr. Whitehead, is that there's a reference to a Meraki report or a Meraki consultation. Was there a report?
From our consultant?
Yes.
This is the outcome of the report. So this report was drafted and then reviewed on my behalf. Or I reviewed the report. The report the council has is the report that was drafted by Meraki.
Oh, Meraki. Okay. Thank you.
Motion's on the floor to send this to Lynn. Is there any more discussion on that? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Second motion.
Your Worship, I'll move that the province be requested to defer acceptance of the Revelstoke Mountain Resort 2018 Master Plan update until RMR has completed the current baselands planning process and provided the province and the city with an opportunity to review and comment on the updated baselands plan.
Motion by Councillor Saul, seconded by Councillor English. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor? Motion's carried. And the last one.
Number 3, that the Revelstoke Mountain Resort 2018 Master Plan update be supported contingent upon RMR addressing the following issues: on mountain and real estate development phasing, completion of baselands plan and other detailed planning currently underway that is part of the resort master plan, implementation of employee housing, agreement on changing vision and uses, updated comprehensive development zone number 8, updated servicing and infrastructure plans, updated statistics, and First Nations consultation follow-through.
Motion by Councillor Saul, seconded by Councillor English. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Nixon.
Your Worship, I'm just going to go out on a limb here again and ask for an amendment to add that a plan be put in place by Revelstoke Mountain Resort on the water source for people that live in the CSRD, but the finger lands of RMR go above them, and there are about 3 water intakes there where I know the Mountain Bike Society is building trails, but those trails are being built on resort land where there is domestic water intake for houses. And I think I want to speak up clearly about that, that is protected or mitigated.
You want RMR to look at
mitigation plans for bike trails that are going through their property that affect CSRD residents' domestic water intake. There's about 3 water intakes. It's similar to what happened with Thomas Brooks. We can't afford to take water out there.
Did you get an abbreviation of that amendment? Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Brothers. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor? Motion carried. Amended motion. So the one that Councillor Saul just read out, plus the looking at the water courses with pertains to mountain biking, and is there any discussion on the amended motion? Do you have your hand up, Mr. Whitehead? All those in favor? Motion carried. Do you look our councillor?
Your Worship, the response from the Homeowners Association is on their website, rmhoa.ca.
Okay, so we are on to revised hair adulteration permit for 805 815 Mackenzie Avenue, and we have a presentation by Mr. Sturgeon.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Try to roll through this quickly here a while. What you have in front of you today is an amended heritage application permit for Rachel Manor, 815 Mackenzie. The representatives of the owner are here as well for questions if that need arises. Going back to July of last year, Council considered a report for the site for a heritage alteration permit and passed a resolution to approve its issuance with 4 conditions. This is the original drawing you saw. Those conditions were to include a widow's block above here, to rebuild 2, not 1 chimney, to not paint the brick exterior, and to relocate a garage, the rest of the garage part there. Following the approval, we issued half of the building permit and construction commenced throughout the fall. Just to clarify what the scope of that original half was, a complete reconstruction of all the interior, that's part of the building permit, not the half, and the exterior. Some reuse of stained glass windows in the front door, and the complete reuse of the cast stones that were in place, which really gave the building its character, and some other reuse of materials where they were possible. So I've just circled the complete rebuild. So there was some response to the removal of all the exterior elements from various people, and I just wanted to clarify that that wasn't the original half. What wasn't in the half was the increase in height, which is the reason why we're all here today and why the work has proceeded since. I provided a timeline in the report of what occurred between council approval of the half and the stop work order that was placed in December. I won't go over that in detail. I've also provided a description of the series of events in between those various events, and if council has questions, I'm happy to answer them. And there's just a highlight of the increased height. When this was brought to our attention, we sought the advice of a third-party consultant to try to understand what the impact might be and how we should move ahead. It wasn't within staff's authority to just approve these changes. It has to come back to council in one way or another, or have to be removed and replaced. The consultant's report is in your package. I'm not going to go through that in detail, but from the wording that we lifted from that was that the original form, scale, and massing has been fundamentally altered. So again, moving forward, we have 2 options. One is that the roof be moved and replaced as it was originally, or that we pursue a modified half. For obvious reasons, the owner and the applicant chose to pursue a modified heritage alteration permit. One thing I will note is that that report from Donald Buxton in Vancouver was quite critical of some aspects of the exterior changes. Those are not relevant to this because those changes were approved by council and included in the half. So the removal of decorative elements and such was something that we anticipated, and that wasn't clearly communicated to Mr. Luxton. Not to criticize him, he was basing his evaluation on the standards that are used in some of the other municipalities that he normally works in. What we're looking at here is an increase in height. That was a result of modern construction practices because of the use of these engineered trusses. And the heel height here is what you see on the outside of the building. And that's the view from the inside of what it looks like. That's what I circled in my previous drawing. And this is what you can see from the street. Now, this is not a fair visualization right now because that's taken from street level. And you'll see up in here there is no eave constructed yet. So it's actually less than that. It's more maybe 2/3 to 3/4, 26 inches to be exact. So here are with the modified half. The scope of that is to mitigate the increased height. The applicant, on our request, they hired a second consultant to offer input into how this might be mitigated. The suggestion from both of them was very similar, to create an illusion of proportions and to mask the additional height with some historically accurate materials. with the modified HAP, we're also including some oversight from the heritage consultant that will improve the details included in the HAP of the exterior rehabilitation and reuse. And that consultant's oversight is going to ensure better historical accuracy of the replacement of those pieces and improve sensitivity to reproduction. There was a strong commitment from the owner and the contractor before to do this. We've all gone through a learning process of how we can improve on that, so we decided to include that in the HAP. We believe this is a mutual benefit of improved clarity to have these items in there, and we'll continue with the retention of the essential features and characteristics, which is the reason why a HAP is in place. Just a quick look at the materials detail. So these brackets were in place before. This is an extended version of them. This soffit, or sorry, this fascia board was in place here before. That's simply an elongated version of it. And then some added additional decorative trim to take up that extra height. And again, those are the original brackets that were used on the pieces. That's a picture from 2002 of what it looked like. Zoom in on the change here. So there's your original, and there's what we're proposing today. So in the end, once you have all those breaks in that, we don't anticipate it to be highly noticeable. So in summary, the changes are very reasonably mitigated. The consultant's oversight, we believe, improved outcome. The form is certainly altered, but the characteristics of the buildings remain. There's improved clarity for all of us moving forward. The outcome of retention of those essential features and characteristics is, improved. I'm repeating myself, that's the important part. To move ahead with the complete removal and reconstruction of the roof was an unnecessarily punitive measure that we don't feel is necessary given the outcomes that I've described here. Council motion will approve the HAP. Staff will move to lift the stop work order if that's the case, revise the building permit, and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sturgeon. Is anybody prepared to put a motion on the floor?
Yes, I can bring the motion forward, Your Worship, that amendment to the existing heritage alteration permit be approved and staff be authorized to issue a revised heritage alteration permit number HAP 2017-02.
Second, Councillor Nixon. Discussion on the motion, Councillor Nixon.
Your Worship, I was really relieved to see Robert Inwood's name attached to this and following it along. I think this is a good mitigation plan, and I was just very relieved when I saw his name come up.
Any other comments or questions? I would like to commend Mr. Golden for going the extra on all this in this restoration. It's unfortunate where we had to go to get back to today, but I think everybody learned something here, and it's unfortunate. I know the end result is we are going to have a beautiful building that the community and tourists are going to enjoy. We did lose something, but I think that with this approval today, we're going to at least get back to having a great addition to the community. And again, I think that everybody's picked up a little bit of advice on how we can avoid getting into this conundrum in the future. But anyways, I'm looking forward to this getting put back together so that we can all enjoy what is, as far as I'm concerned, the most iconic building in this community. Motion is on the floor. Is there any other comments? All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sturgeon. Where are we? Item F, Provincial Caribou Recovery Program. Councillor.
Your Worship, I'll bring that forward. I move that the Director of Community Economic Development be authorized to submit the City of Revelstoke's response included in the report dated June 12, 2018, Provincial Caribou Recovery Program with the Ministry of Forest Lands, Natural Resource Operations, and Rural Development.
Motion by Councillor Bond, seconded by Councillor Stokes. Discussion on the motion.
Just for background, Your Worship, as contained in the report, is recommendations provided to the Community Economic Development Department on the Mountain Caribou issue. It's a medium-sized report and has a lot of evidence of a lot of outreach into the community, a lot of consultation with stakeholders in the community, trying to gather information on what the implications of and as yet completely defined new policies pertaining to mountain caribou will be, and especially focusing on the socioeconomic impacts of the I guess at this point what we're seeing is a draft plan that is unfortunately not very high on specifics, but does have a lot of concerning language as it relates to socioeconomic impacts of core industries in the community. And that's just for background.
I want to thank Ms. Rico for putting this together. This has the potential to be a huge issue in this community. When I was at FCM, there was mayors. They had a special meeting on caribou because it's an issue almost right across the country. And there was mayors from just about every province in Canada that were at the meeting. I know we've had some meetings here. I had the opportunity to talk with the Premier when I was touring around Revelstoke yesterday. And I think that there's a real good dialogue that is starting, and I like the fact that we are going to be requesting and looking at science-based solutions rather than anecdotal information and what people perceive, because the perceptions of saving mountain caribou I think are a lot different than what the reality is going to be in a lot of people's minds, and we have to get the facts on the table and see what we can do to actually play a part in the recovery if we can. So I'm glad to see this on the table. I'm glad to see that we're getting started, but this is going to be, again, a huge issue, and we have a history of being at the table and being part of the solutions rather than ignoring things and denying and not playing our part. There is a role for this community, for the industries here, for the recreation. Everybody's going to be has to play a part in the recovery of Mount Caribou. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there any other comments or questions?
Your Worship, I think it's really incumbent on the council to have a voice in this, because it is going to be a big concerning issues in the coming years, and I'd really like to echo your insights and thoughts on that, Your Worship, regarding a science-based approach. This is something that the community has been involved in a lot over the years, and a lot more is known now over what options are available, what tools work, and what levers need to be applied. Many levers need to be, tools need to be used to help with the situation, and I think it's really critical. And there is wording in the draft plan focusing on a science-based approach, but that's really, really important, and that is emphasized in the report, number one. And as well as, it does reference building on previous work, as outlined in the report. It's been back since the early 90s that, Revelstoke's been involved, and there's been several initiatives over the year and lots of involvements, and there's a lot of very knowledgeable people in the community, people who've been involved in studying, making, putting their efforts in and putting their knowledge and their experience. So to include them is a key thing in the science that they've put forward. And I'd like to point out a local example, which is one of many initiatives, is the Revelstoke Caribou Rearing and the Wild Society. That was such a great project because it brought in what were before that kind of different groups who didn't have a lot in common, and they really came together and worked on one of the, as we're calling, levers in the report, and came up with through a lot of sweat and effort and knowledge and experience, put together one example of something that can be seen as one of the, set an example of something that can be done in the future. One of the many things that can be done to help deal with the caribou issue. So I would really hope going forward that the provincial government, as they deal with pressure from the federal government to do more on the caribou issue, would learn from many of the examples and the hard work and the research that's been done in Revelstoke to deal proactively with this issue over the years. I know, Your Worship, you've been involved in these, going back for many years as has previous council. So it's really, really important that this work be done and that, the science-based approach is taken.
I think since council meeting started, 2 caribou have been born. I'm just kidding. We have a motion on the floor. There's lots. This is such a big, complex issue, and there's lots more. But you know what? I think that we're going to get started, and I shouldn't say get started. We're going to carry on, and there's going to be a lot more information coming out. But this community is recognized as one of the leaders in caribou recovery, and a lot of people are looking at things that we've implemented, some of them voluntarily by different groups, and we have one of the herds that is actually, I won't say thriving, but I'll say surviving in the area. Anyways, motion is on the floor. Is any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. We're on to charter service. Councilor Orlando.
Yeah, the declaration due to a business relationship with the applicant.
And I'll bring that forward, Your Worship. Item G, that council authorize notice of its intention to provide assistance to Revelstoke Mountain Resort Limited Partnership, the Revelstoke Accommodation Association, and Revelstoke Connection Ltd. under the terms of a partnering agreement for the provision of a municipal service, being the provision of air charter services between Revelstoke and Vancouver for a term beginning January 4, 2019 and ending March 18, 2019, providing for a guarantee of a maximum payment of $66,857 by the city for the provision of the services described in the agreement.
Motion by Councilor Brothers, seconded by Councilor Saul. Discussion on the motion. Councilor Nixon.
Your Worship, this is the third year that this partnering will go on, and hopefully after this third year that this project will fly on its own.
Well, that was the intent of the exercise, but I'm not sure it will fly, but I can tell you that it is making a positive impact in the community, and not just for the resort and resort business. Business people are using it, regular citizens are using it as connections to other travels, but something that I've talked about for a long time is getting a scheduled air service in the community is going to enhance the quality of life for everybody, and I'm encouraging council to support this once more. This is Economic Opportunity Fund money. It is not requisition taxpayer money, even though it is still funds for us, but it's funds to be used to build economic opportunity. And I think that this fits the bill quite well, and encourage council to vote in favor. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Can somebody let our councilor back in? We're on to engineering, water supply and transmission risk assessment. We're on item H. Councilor?
Your Worship, I'll bring forward item H, that the City of Revelstoke Water Risk Assessment completed by McElhaney dated February 28, 2018 be received.
Motion by Councilor Saul, second by Councilor Nixon. Discussion on the motion.
Your Worship, this is a great report coming forward. It's not a perfect report, as Mr. Thomas has indicated himself. We've had some interaction with community members, but it's a start, and so we really appreciate this, and going forward we'll be monitoring how we deal with water risk assessment.
Thank you. Councilor Nixon?
Just, Your Worship, I might be wrong, but is this not the program that we won an award for from the Municipal Insurance Association?
Your Worship, yes, we received the gold award for this risk management initiative through the Municipal Insurance Association that's really all about risk. So this is a program that we submitted to their award for their annual conference. We're successful with that. They've asked for, I believe they've got an article about it coming up in their magazine, and they've asked for an update at their next annual conference.
Thank you. And congratulations. Yeah. Motions on the floor. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Motion's carried.
Number 2, that the identified high and medium risk items in the assessment be reviewed by staff for consideration of incorporation into the 15-year financial plan.
Motion by Councilor Stoll, seconded by Councilor Lando. Discussion on the motion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Finance.
Your worship, I'll bring forward that budget management and reporting policy attached to the report titled Budget Management and Reporting and Finance Plan Budget Amendment Policies dated May 25th, 2018 from the Director of Finance be approved.
Motion by Councilor Nixon, seconded by Councilor Stoll. Councilor Nixon.
This is just best practice housekeeping. Staff have been doing this all along, but we're just formalizing the policies into the record.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions of the motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Item 2.
Item 2, that the financial plan budget amendment policy attached to the report titled Budget Management and Reporting and Financial Plan Budget Amendment Policies dated May 25th, 2018 from the Director of Finance be approved.
Motion by Councilor Nixon, seconded by Councilor Saul. Discussion. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Item J, that the report titled 2018 to 2022 Financial Plan Amendments dated May 23rd, 2018 from the Director of Finance be received for information.
Motion by Councilor Nixon, seconded by Councilor Brothers. Discussion on the motion. Councilor Nixon.
Your Worship, it's in Council's packages. There was resort municipality infrastructure money to 191,000 came into the community. Ford Park build received donations and funds for 92,000, and we added some money to the sewer works out of reserve.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions on the motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried.
And then to wrap that all together, item K, that 5-year financial plan 2018-2022 amendment bylaw number 2229 be read a first, second, and third time.
Motion by Councilor Nixon, seconded by Councilor Sauls. Discussion. Councilor Nixon.
This also brings forward the carry forward projects from last year that were in the midst of being done. It's quite a few millions that we carried forward. Looked like we had a lot of money in the kitty at the end of 2017. And we did not overtax the citizens. We had projects on the go that we were just carrying forward.
Any other comments or questions on the motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Item 13, communications. Is there anybody who would like to bring anything out of the Social Development Committee minutes of April 25th? Advisory Planning Commission minutes of June 5th. Questions from media? No. Looking for a motion to go in camera pursuant to Section 9.1 A and C Community Charter. Councilor English, Councilor Soul, all in favor. Motion is carried. And we'll take a